She'd been working the same section for nearly a decade, helping fans navigate the maze of corridors and concession stands, her badge and clipboard as familiar as the stadium itself. But when gunfire replaced cheering, the crowd learned that their gentle Usher had been their silent protector all along. Welcome to True Human Tales. Before we begin this powerful story of hidden courage and stadium heroism, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. MetLife Stadium rose from the New Jersey Meadowlands like a modern coliseum, its gleaming facade and retractable roof systems capable of hosting 82,500 fans for everything from NFL games to international soccer matches and world-class concerts. The stadium represented the pinnacle of sports architecture, with premium suites, luxury amenities, and technology systems that could coordinate everything from parking flow to concession sales with military precision. For most fans, navigating the stadium's complexity required guidance, and that's where the ushers came in. These uniformed staff members served as the human face of the venue, helping visitors find their seats, locate restrooms, and discover the best food options for their budget and dietary preferences. They were part traffic controller, part customer service representative, and part cheerful ambassador for an experience that could make or break a family's special day out. Martha Hendricks had been working Section 15 of the lower bowl for 8 years, long enough to see the stadium through multiple seasons, championship runs, and the inevitable renovations that kept a modern venue competitive. At 63, Martha moved with the efficient grace of someone who'd learned that crowds required both patience and authority, her navy blue Usher uniform always pressed, her silver badge polished, and her radio positioned precisely on her belt for instant communication with security and management. Section 15 was prime real estate, close enough to the field for excellent views, but high enough to avoid the most expensive ticket prices. It attracted a diverse crowd, families saving up for special occasions, corporate groups entertaining clients, season ticket holders who'd become like extended family, and tourists experiencing their first American football game. Martha knew them all, remembered their preferences, and somehow always managed to make each visitor feel like the stadium's most important guest. Her domain extended beyond just seat assignments. Martha knew which concession stands had the shortest lines, which restrooms were cleanest, and which elevators moved fastest during halftime rushes. She could direct fans to the gift shop that carried hard-to-find merchandise, suggest the best photo opportunities for social media posts, and provide weather updates when afternoon games stretched into evening hours. Regular season ticket holders had developed genuine affection for Martha over the years. The Kowalski family, who'd held 4 seats in row 12 for 6 seasons, always brought Martha a coffee during cold weather games. The Chen family made sure to arrive early just to chat with Martha about their kids' school activities in her garden that she tended during the off-season. Business groups frequently requested Section 15 specifically because they knew Martha would ensure their clients had an exceptional experience. Children were particularly drawn to Martha's warm demeanor and seemingly infinite patience. She kept stickers featuring the team logo in her uniform pocket for young fans experiencing their first game, and she had an encyclopedic knowledge of player statistics that could answer even the most detailed questions from junior sports enthusiasts. Parents appreciated how Martha could calm nervous children who were overwhelmed by the stadium's size and noise levels. What made Martha exceptional wasn't just her customer service skills, though those were considerable, but her ability to read crowds and anticipate problems before they became incidents. She could spot the early signs of intoxicated fans who might become disruptive, identify children who were becoming separated from their families, and notice when sections were becoming overcrowded in ways that could create safety issues. Martha's incident reports were models of thoroughness and professionalism, noting everything from spilled drinks that created slip hazards to suspicious behavior that warranted security attention. Stadium management had come to rely on her observations, and her radio calls were given priority because supervisors knew that Martha didn't waste time on minor issues. What fans and management didn't know was that Martha's crowd management skills had been honed in environments far more challenging than sports venues. Her ability to read group psychology, spot potential threats, and coordinate rapid response protocols came from 22 years with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, where she'd specialized in public event security and domestic terrorism prevention. Special Agent Martha Hendricks had served from 1978 to 2000, working everything from presidential protection details to major sporting event security coordination. Her official FBI record listed her specialty as crowd dynamics and threat assessment, but the classified portions revealed a career spent preventing attacks on soft targets, the shopping malls, concert venues, and sports stadiums where Americans gathered to enjoy life without thinking about security. Martha had been part of the teams that developed modern stadium security protocols, working behind the scenes at Super Bowls, World Series games, and Olympic events to ensure that celebration didn't become tragedy. She'd helped design the threat assessment algorithms that security teams still used, developed crowd flow patterns that prevented dangerous bottlenecks, and created communication systems that could coordinate response across venues holding tens of thousands of people. Her transition to civilian life had been carefully planned by bureau supervisors who understood that agents with her expertise needed to stay connected to the environments they'd spent decades protecting. The MetLife Stadium position wasn't random. It was therapeutic, allowing Martha to use her skills for prevention rather than investigation, for making experiences better rather than solving cases after things had gone wrong. The stadium's security director knew Martha was former law enforcement, but had no idea of the scope of her federal experience. Her job application listed her background as law enforcement crowd control, which seemed perfectly suited for an usher position that required managing large groups of excited fans. The weapon she was licensed to carry was assumed to be standard protection for senior staff members working late-night events. What they didn't know was that Martha's seemingly innocent clipboard held more than just seating charts and event schedules. The back panel concealed a detailed stadium layout marked with security camera positions, emergency evacuation routes, and tactical response protocols that she'd memorized during her first week on the job. Her radio wasn't just connected to the standard Usher network, it also monitored security frequencies and could communicate directly with law enforcement units positioned around the venue. For 8 years, Martha had found peace in her routine work. Helping families create positive memories had gradually replaced the stress of preventing tragedies, and the steady rhythm of game day operations had allowed her to heal from years of hypervigilance and threat assessment. Her greatest satisfaction came from seeing nervous first-time visitors relax and enjoy themselves, or watching children experience the magic of live sports for the first time. October 13th was a perfect Sunday for football, crisp autumn air, clear skies, and the kind of late-afternoon sunlight that made every play look like a movie scene. The home team was facing a division rival in a game that could determine playoff positioning, and the stadium was packed to capacity with 82,500 fans whose energy created the electric atmosphere that made live sports special. Martha had arrived 3 hours before kickoff to help with the early arrival rush, guiding fans through parking and concourse navigation while vendors set up their stations and security teams completed their final sweeps. Section 15 was filling up with its usual mix of regulars and newcomers, and Martha was in her element, answering questions, solving problems, and ensuring that everyone felt welcome. By halftime, the game was living up to its billing as a classic, with lead changes and momentum swings that kept the crowd on their feet. Martha had handled the usual collection of minor issues: a spilled drink, a lost child reunited with parents, a seating dispute resolved with patient mediation, and was looking forward to the second half when the real drama would unfold. At 3:47 p.m., during the halftime break when most fans were visiting concession stands or restrooms, Martha noticed them. 4 men moving through the concourse with the purposeful navigation that Martha's trained eye recognized as operational rather than recreational. They wore team jerseys that were too new, carried themselves with the alert posture of people conducting surveillance rather than enjoying a game, and communicated through subtle hand signals that casual fans wouldn't recognize, but that Martha's training had taught her to read like a foreign language. Martha's threat assessment protocols, dormant for years but never fully disabled, began processing danger indicators with automatic precision. The men's movement patterns were wrong. They were mapping security positions and exit routes rather than looking for food or restrooms. Their attention was focused on infrastructure rather than entertainment, and they were communicating with the disciplined coordination of a team operating on a mission timeline. Martha continued her normal usher duties without changing her posture or expression, but her awareness shifted into the heightened state that had once made her invaluable to federal protection details. She mentally mapped the stadium's layout, noting security camera positions, emergency evacuation routes, and civilian concentration areas. Her hand moved casually toward her radio while her mind calculated response times and coordination protocols. The men positioned themselves strategically around the main concourse area, where thousands of fans were enjoying halftime refreshments and socializing. Their placement suggested they were preparing to control the space, to trap, rather than simply observe the crowd that represented nearly 83,000 potential targets in a confined environment. Martha's training had taught her to recognize the preparation phase of a terrorist operation, and everything about these four men suggested that something catastrophic was about to happen. Their body language had shifted from surveillance to execution readiness, their positioning from observation to tactical advantage. One checked his watch with the focused attention of someone operating on a precise timeline. Another adjusted something under his jersey with the careful movement of someone ensuring weapon accessibility. At 3:52 p.m., Martha's suspicions were confirmed when the lead man produced what appeared to be a radio and spoke into it with the clipped efficiency of someone coordinating with additional personnel. Within seconds, 3 more men emerged from different entry points around the stadium, their movement pattern identical to the first group, coordinated, disciplined, and completely wrong for the festive game day environment. Martha realized she was witnessing the preparation for what counterterrorism professionals called a mass casualty event, an attack designed to maximize civilian deaths and psychological impact in a location where people felt safe and security was designed to be invisible. MetLife Stadium was perfect for such an operation. Tens of thousands of concentrated targets, limited escape routes, and security protocols designed for crowd control rather than military-style assault. As Martha watched, the first man reached into his jacket and produced a compact assault rifle with the fluid motion of someone who'd practiced the draw countless times. That's when Martha stopped being an usher and became an FBI agent again. Martha's hand moved to her radio with practiced efficiency, but instead of calling stadium security, she activated the federal emergency frequency that connected directly to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. Her voice, calm and professional despite the circumstances, provided precise coordinates and threat assessment using terminology that immediately identified her as someone with operational authority. Within seconds, Martha was coordinating a response that combined stadium security, local law enforcement, and federal counterterrorism units positioned around major venues on game days. Her position in Section 15 provided perfect overwatch of the main concourse, and her 8 years of daily observation had given her intimate knowledge of every sight line, exit route, and tactical advantage in the immediate area. The terrorists had expected to control a crowd of defenseless civilians, families, and fans who would panic and provide easy targets for their weapons. What they hadn't expected was return fire from a position they couldn't have anticipated, delivered with accuracy that spoke of decades of training and operational experience under the highest possible stakes. Martha's service weapon came from the concealed holster she'd worn for 8 years without ever expecting to need it. Her first shots were precise and immediate, targeting the lead gunman as he raised his weapon toward the crowd of families enjoying halftime activities around the concession stands. The sound of gunfire in the previously festive stadium created instant chaos, but Martha's tactical communication had already set coordinated response protocols in motion. Federal agents positioned around the venue moved with the precision of a long-practiced plan, engaging the remaining terrorists with the overwhelming force that modern counterterrorism doctrine demanded for public venue protection. Martha's overwatch position and crowd knowledge allowed her to coordinate civilian evacuation while maintaining suppressive fire against threats attempting to disperse into the stadium's complex layout. Within 6 minutes, the threat was neutralized, the stadium was secure, and the 82,500 fans who had come to enjoy a football game were safe from an attack that could have created one of the deadliest terrorist incidents in American history. Martha's immediate threat assessment and tactical coordination had prevented a tragedy that would have made international headlines for all the wrong reasons. The evacuation was conducted with the same professionalism that Martha had brought to 8 years of crowd management, but now her gentle voice was directing people toward safety rather than concession stands. The stadium's public address system carried her calm instructions as federal agents secured each section and escorted families to safety with the care that major event security protocols demanded. The investigation revealed the full scope of the planned attack, a coordinated assault designed to maximize casualties during halftime when security attention was focused on crowd management rather than threat detection. The terrorists had researched the stadium's layout, security protocols, and emergency procedures with the thoroughness of professionals planning a military operation. Intelligence analysis later revealed connections to international networks that had been planning similar attacks on major sporting venues across multiple cities. What they hadn't researched was Martha Hendricks. The FBI agents who debriefed Martha were initially surprised to encounter a federal agent working undercover as a stadium usher, until bureau records confirmed her identity and service history. 22 years of classified operations, commendations for actions that couldn't be publicly acknowledged, and expertise that had been considered too valuable to lose even in retirement. The media wanted to interview her about her transition from federal service to stadium work, about the psychology of retirement from counterterrorism operations, about the moment when her two careers had intersected. Martha politely declined all interview requests, preferring to let the official statements speak for themselves. MetLife Stadium reopened the following Sunday with enhanced security and a new understanding of the woman who worked Section 15. Martha returned to her post with the same professional demeanor she'd always shown, helping fans find their seats and navigate the stadium with the same patient courtesy that had made her a favorite among regulars. The only visible change was a small commendation letter from stadium management, thanking her for extraordinary service during a security incident. Martha had requested that it not mention specific details, preferring to be remembered for the thousands of positive game day experiences she'd helped create rather than the one day when her other skills had been needed. Because some people serve their country in ways that can never be fully acknowledged, and when their official service ends, they find new ways to serve their community. Martha had spent 22 years preventing attacks on the places where Americans gathered to celebrate, and 8 years helping those same people create the memories that made life worth protecting. The difference was that now everyone got to go home with smiles instead of statistics. So now I ask you, have you ever met someone like Martha? Someone who seemed like just a friendly stadium usher until the moment they revealed the depths of their expertise and dedication? Someone whose daily presence made you feel safer without knowing why? Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? And share their story with us. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are. We publish human stories that matter every single week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next story. And remember, sometimes the person helping you find your seat knows more about protection than you could ever imagine.